Good morning, dear students. We are going to learn about divergence and curl. That will be the main focus of today's lecture on this course, Applied Electromagnetics. So this is the 9th lecture of this series. And before I start the divergence and curl, let me give you a final word that I want to mention about gradient. So one of the practical applications that you see in daily life about the gradient is that when you travel next time in trains, you can actually look through your window that there will be markings like this. See these markings, the leftmost marking that you see here tells the driver that there is an upslope, and that upslope, that gradient is nothing but the 1 by 300. What it means is for the next 300 meters, it is going to, the height of the track is going to increase by 1 meter. So here it is a downslope. So he will be asked to do slow down so as to control the speed of the train, and the downslope is like 1 by 500. Otherwise the gradient is 1 by 500. So it means next to 500 meters, the track is going to slope down by 1 meter. Okay. Now the last one is like the L. L stands for the track is level. So it means it is plains, he can speed up as per the speed limit. So this is something that is commonly seen on the side of the railway tracks with these kind of markings. So gradient is an extremely very important physical quantity, and gradient can only be taken on a scalar function, and the gradient is actually a vector. Okay, so these things if you keep mind, I think you'll be okay. So come to divergence. So as the name suggests, divergence is basically taken on a vector function. See, very similar to a vector, normal vector that we know, like vector A equal to x hat plus y hat plus z hat. The divergence is also the del operator also can be done the same manner. Del operator mimics that of a vector. With the del operator, we can have three operations. So del operator, when it operates on a scalar function, gives rise to a gradient. Del operator can act on a vector function and in both dot product fashion and cross product fashion. Okay, so when del operator operates on a dot product fashion on a vector function, you get a scalar quantity. That is why again you get a what is known as a scalar product. So here we refer to if vector A is the vector function that represents a physical quantity, then if I take the dot product with the del operator on this vector function, I am going to get and write it as del dot A, and the resultant quantity will be a scalar. Okay, and that will represent what is known as the divergence. So here I have taken the example of vector V, and along the three directions in Cartesian coordinate system, the components of this vector are Vx, Vy, Vz. Okay, now I take the operation, scalar product operation of the del operator, resulting in something like this. So what do I get? I get a scalar quantity. Vx is the component along x direction, Vy is the component along y direction, Vz is the component along z direction, and moment I take the dot product, we know I dot I equal to 1, whereas I dot j and I dot k are 0 because I, j, k unit vectors are mutually perpendicular. Same is the case with the j vector, j hat with I hat. It will be 0, 0, and j hat with k hat will be 0, resulting in only dou Vy by dou y, that will be the second term. The third term will be likewise dou Vc by dou z. So this is about the mathematical meaning of this divergence, of how mathematically we can get the divergence. But the physical meaning is actually it tells about the extent of spread of a vector function. Okay, let us say some fluid is flowing in certain manner. Okay, the extent of the spread and the fluid flow is represented by a vector function. The extent of this spread of this vector function is defined by what is known as del dot V. So here is a tap that is seen in our faucet, and this tap pumps the water out, and we can see the flow is actually spreading out, and we can see that clearly here. So this you can calculate the flow, and this is the way we do this can be done in two ways, as will be seen through the divergence theorem, how much it has spread. Okay, so we will come to the divergence theorem and we will explain more on this. How do we compute how much volume we collected in a given volume can be done two ways. Okay, so the extent of the divergence comes in there, and secondly, so this, because it is spreading from a source like the tap, so the source is actually a source of positive divergence. Okay, which means it is spreading out. Okay, and we have a contextual sense in electrostatics. We'll come to that. Now, the sink, on the other hand, it collects the water whenever all the water is getting collected and reaching a point. So it is a point of negative divergence, which means heaping together. Okay, so this I will tell you. There is another example physically that we can see for the divergence. Now, as far as the electrostatics is concerned, we have a positive test charge, and from where the field lines emanate and it spreads radially out, as shown here. Okay, so we can calculate the divergence of this field, and this divergence of this electrostatic field we call electrostatic because the charge is at rest. The divergence of this electric field, mathematically represented as del dot E, is given by what is known as the Gauss law. Okay, so that will be the volume charge density divided by epsilon naught if it is we are talking free space. Okay, otherwise if we are talking in a material medium, then it becomes rho V, where the subscript V stands for volume, rho stands for the volume charge density, that is charge per unit volume divided by permittivity of the medium. Okay. Now, this positive charge is a source of, because the field is spreading out radially, which means from a point it is spreading out. Okay, so the divergence essentially conveys the literal meaning. Okay, it is just diverging, which means flowing out. That is the divergence. Okay, spreading out. Now, if I take a negative charge, then I am going to get opposite of divergence. We don't use the word convergence here in the electromagnetics context. What we are using is negative divergence, which means it comes together, it heaps together, and the field lines in this case are all pointing inward, which means flowing in. Okay, and so we will be seeing this in the divergence theorem. At that time, I will again explain. There is a beautiful analogy here. Okay, and now another example, as I told you practically just a minute ago, is when I put sawdust on the surface of water, okay, standing on the edge of a pond. What I see is, if the sawdust is being actually spread out, if the sawdust that I pour at a point of on the surface of the water, and if it spreads about that point, so it is with reference to that point, it spreads out. If it spreads out, then it is a point of positive divergence. On the other hand, all the moment I try to spread it out, but all of them heap together, the sawdust is grouped together and they don't spread out, then it is a point of negative divergence. That will be controlled by whether it is spreading out or whether it is converging in, which means negative divergence, heaping together. That will be decided by the flow of the fluid. Okay, at that point. So one can actually describe the flow of fluids with what is known as the divergence of the flow rate function. Okay. Now, typical functions that mathematically we will see some of the examples to understand this divergence. Okay. As I just told you, this is my positive charge from where the field lines radially spread out. As you can see, further I go from the charge, I have actually only represented by few vectorial lines. That vectorial lines, when I say it is an arrowhead with which means the field is pointing radially outward, and this is a positive charge, it should point radially outward. So as I go farther from the charge, I am going to have a 1 by r square dependence, which means the field lines have to decrease. So indicated by this arrow at this point, and only a few lines are represented here. Okay, so just to give you a illustration, that's all. Doesn't mean that the lines are only here. The lines are everywhere. Okay, it is everywhere. It is also here. It is also here. So closer to the charge, the density of the lines is going to increase, representing that the distance is small. So you are going to have the intensity of electrostatic field is going to be higher. This we will again discuss at the time when we discuss about Coulomb's law. So why do I bring again and again electromagnetics context? Okay, both electrostatics and magnetostatics is that you must remember this course is all about electromagnetics, not about mathematics. We are using mathematics as a tool. That's all. Okay, keep that in mind. That's why I am trying to give you the connections. Why are we learning what we are learning now? Now, this is another function. We'll come to the divergence estimation for all of these functions shortly. So this is another function. Here you see the fluid flow from the top, and it is flowing very uniformly. I have specifically used here, I have specifically used here a large this thing, a uniform vector function, which means the vector function it radially points down. Okay, it actually points along the negative z direction. Okay, it is pointing down negative z direction in a rectangular coordinate system. And also, if you have noticed, all those lines, let me do it again, all those lines are drawn with equal magnitude. Okay, so which means I want you to visualize there is only a direction associated with this vector, and because the field is so uniform and it is at all spatial points, I can represent this vector function merely by unit vector symbol. Okay, because the scalar value of the function remains constant, magnitude is constant. So it can be like, for example, 5, because it is pointing downward, it will be minus 5 z hat. Okay, and it is a negative z direction. So minus 5 z hat, or it can be minus 10 z hat, depending on the strength of this field direction or a fluid flow direction. Okay, now think about this. The converse is actually, I am here having a control of the fluid flow by trying to pump it in such a manner that close to this where I am trying to pump, it is actually more, but farther away from the nozzle from where it is coming, the lines are shorter, which means I am trying to tell that this is not a uniform vector field. Rather, there is a both the direction remains the uniformity, but the scalar value associated as a function of spatial coordinate is not equal, which means it is having a z dependence as far as the coordinate is concerned. So it will be represented not as a number with z direction, but rather it will be the scalar value, which is z coordinate itself, and k hat, where k hat represents the direction of the flow. Okay, the direction is uniform. However, the scalar value associated, okay, or the magnitude of that vector function is changing as a function of spatial coordinate. Okay, let us calculate the divergence and see what happens. Okay, and try to understand in all of these three cases whether the divergence is there divergence and what is the quantity. We'll see that. So let us take the first example where the field lines radially emanate from the positive charge, and we can represent this radial function as okay, v equal to vector v equal to x I hat plus y j hat plus z k hat. So it's a position vector from origin, radial vector, and depending on the point, I can substitute the point, I will get the corresponding vector function. Okay, so remember, a vector function has both magnitude and a direction associated. Therefore, in this case, it's a radial function because it is spreading out from radially. Okay, so in Cartesian coordinate system, it will be x I hat plus y j hat plus z k hat. Okay. So the divergence, if I substitute for correspondingly, what are the components along xyz direction? Respectively, the components along xyz directions are Vx equal to x, Vy equal to y, Vz equal to z. Okay, so I substitute that, and what am I going to get? Del dot v equal to 3. Okay, which is a scalar value. So we have got a scalar value, and this value you can see del dot v, whether I take at any point, for example, correspondingly, okay, at this point I am going to get del dot v is going to be 3. Suppose, okay, in along this direction, del dot v will be different, x direction, because in along x direction, if I see, I will have only there won't be the y coordinate and z component. If I only have the field at that point is going to be due to only x coordinate, then I am going to have only vector v will be x I hat. Then there del dot v will be 1. Okay, likewise. Okay, so the values are different at different coordinates positions based on the variation in the vector function itself. Okay. Now think, this is a fluid flow from top. This we just discussed, and I told you that all of these arrows are of equal length. Okay, reflecting the uniformity of this vector function, both in magnitude and direction. Okay, so the lengths being equal represents they are of equal magnitude. The direction being uniform represents they are all flowing in the same z direction. Therefore, the vector function can be, because it is pointing in the negative z direction, I am going to represent this generic function as minus k z hat, where k is a scalar quantity. Okay, so remember, I have not put a hat or something, that will be meaningless because I use the z hat to differentiate from the scalar value k. Okay, so the negative is because of the pointing downward. Now I substitute here. What am I going to get? So I have only z component, that is minus k, and whereas x and y components are 0, which means I am not going to have any contribution from this dou vx by dou x and dou vy by dou y. I will have only contribution from here if at all it is there. So minus k z hat. So when the moment I substitute for that minus k here, and k being a scalar quantity, it is not varying as a function of z coordinate. Therefore, this also vanishes. So in this case, there is no spread of the vector function as expected. Okay, because it is all uniform and it is all flowing. There is no divergence as it is. It is all going the same direction. So whenever there is we have a vector function, and this del dot v being 0 represents what is known as the solenoidal field, or for this vector function there is no divergence. Okay, divergence-less field or solenoidal fields. Remember, it is called solenoidal fields. We will consider the geometry of solenoid. Okay, in case of magnetostatic field, and we will try to estimate. We will actually estimate the magnetostatic field due to this solenoid geometry, and you will see that the field will be uniform. And by now we know, actually, because whenever you have a bar magnet, you always see that there is a north pole and south pole, never there is a monopole. Okay, as of now at room temperature, we know only there is the magnetic field as it is always comes with, however small you break the magnet, you will always have the north pole and south pole. Okay, so which will, and the field lines will always curl around. Okay, it doesn't diverge. Okay, we will discuss about all these aspects, do not worry. But the contextual sense again for divergence in reference to electromagnetics is that we will see delta to be equal to 0. In fact, this is one of the Maxwell's equation. Okay, so that we'll talk about it. So this such a field where it is uniform both in as a function of spatial coordinate as well as the direction, you will see that you will always get delta to be equal to 0. That is the field. Then the vector function is known as a solenoidal function. So moment if I ask you a vector function, given a vector function, I want you to prove that it is solenoidal. All you need to do is, if you can prove that delta to be equal to 0, okay, then we can have a solenoidal field. Of course, when we talk about Helmholtz theorem, I will rate the divergence and the curl, and I will bring the context. Okay, that will be the last section on this unit on mathematical tools. We will come to that after we discuss about curl theorem. So here is another function. In this case, I have purposefully selected. Okay, I have purposefully selected actually a vector function in such a manner that the lengths of these arrows as a function of spatial coordinate, they are not same, which means this vector function has a change in magnitude at different points in space. The magnitudes are not same, although direction of the flow is same. Okay, the direction is pointing vertically up, which means it is pointing along the z direction, and the length is of these arrows indicative of the magnitude of this vector function is changing as a function of z coordinate. Therefore, this vector function should be written as vector v equal to z k hat. Having said that, what is the divergence of this vector function? Now, because it is z k hat, there will be a divergence associated. So when the vector function is changing in magnitude, not necessarily in direction, you still can have divergence. So magnitude, the vector function is changing, which means every point in space is associated with a one vector function. They are not the same. So you have a divergence. Okay. So we took three cases. We took a radial function. We took a uniform solenoidal function where we proved divergence is 0. So such a vector function in the previous example, what is known as solenoidal function or a divergence-less function, vector function. Okay, and here we took the direction remaining constant. However, okay, we are going to have a different. So we took three examples of three different signatures with three different signatures. Now let us talk about curl of a vector function. So as the name suggests, how much this vector function rotates about a point. Okay, so that is the curling, or swirls about a point. The extent of swirling, and again this curl has lot of context both in fluid mechanics as well as in electromagnetics. Okay, we'll keep harping on this curl throughout. The curl operation is nothing but the cross product operation taken on a vector function with the del operator. That is the curl. That is how we define the curl. And given vector function v equal to vx I hat plus vy j hat plus vc k hat, where vx, vy, vc respectively are the components along the three directions, we can represent this curl del cross v in a determinant form and expand this. By now you are familiar not only through the lessons taught in this course, but also through the differential calculus, the calculus that you learned. Okay, in the previous semester, you are now familiar. So I'm just going to skip on that. Now to physically attribute a meaning for curl, I show a pond here. Okay, so you are standing on the edge of the pond, let us say, and you have a paddle wheel. A paddle wheel is actually like a cork with a toothpick. Okay, so a paddle wheel you have in your hand, and this paddle wheel you drop it on the surface of the water at some point, and like here, and the moment I drop it, I see that the rotation of this paddle wheel at about that point. So which means there is a curl associated with this point. So whenever this paddle wheel rotates about a point, so the fluid flow is having a curl associated with the at that point, and it rotates about the point. Not necessarily this curl will be same throughout the pond. This you know very well, because you must have taken bath in the river waters at some point in your lifetime, and you must have seen people say that, hey, do not go over there and take bath. There is a large swell and you will be pulled down, sucked by water. Okay, so it's a dangerous place. Do not go there. Have bath over here. Okay, where there is no curl, where there is a smooth water only, which is flowing, and there is no rotation of the fluid flow. So the curl you can see here, and not necessarily the curl will be the of same magnitude, and also so at another point here also the paddle wheel rotates about that point. In this case, I have in both the cases I have shown clockwise rotation. Okay, it could have normally in water you will be actually for a right-handed screw system you will always see a curl which will be going into the water. Okay, that is why I have used a clockwise rotation. Now this curl rotation is much smaller of magnitude compared to this one. This is rotating very fast, so the curl will be here more. Okay, and the curl operation will result like in a vector product, it will result in a vector quantity. That will be the resultant quantity. There will be a direction associated given by right hand thumb rule or right handed screw system rule, which means if I am rotating like this on the vector function, I am going to get positive z direction. If I am in talking in terms of Cartesian coordinate system, if I am rotating anti-clockwise, okay, like this, I am going. If I am rotating clockwise, sorry, if I am rotating this way, I am going to have. So depending on the way you look at my hand, if I can look at from over here, it will be clockwise. If I am rotating anti-clockwise, so it depends on the way I rotate. Okay, so in the case of screw, right-handed screw system, I am drilling a screw in. It is positive direction, which means the screw is going. So okay, it's a contextual sense again. So it is going into the board, and this goes out. Okay, a right-handed screw system means whenever it goes in, it is a cross B. Whenever it goes out, so either it is coming up or we have discussed this in cross product operation. So here it is rotating actually fast and rotating slow, and there is another point where there is no curl at all. So again, when you take curl, you have to associate a point, whether at that point, about that point, is there a curl associated with a given vector function. So 3 examples are shown only because of that to illustrate that the curl is not the same. Okay, it is varying at different spatial points. Okay, and this we have seen practically also in our life. So there is no doubt on this. Curl of typical vector functions. Let us take few examples. So here you can see on the xy plane. Okay, I have drawn a Cartesian coordinate system, right-handed system, x cross y equal to z, z pointing upward, and in the xy plane I have a fluid flow in this direction. Looking at this figure, I can tell that and applying right-hand screw system, I can see that cross product operation with the del operator of this fluid flow vector function is going to be pointing upward. I must get, if I take a represent this fluid flow by a vector function v, and if I take the del operator curl operation del cross v, I must get the z direction. Am I going to get? That is one question. In fact, we are going to get it, as you will see through this figure itself, but mathematically will show that by representing this flow direction by certain vector function in xy plane. Now the next one, Here also you can see that on this in a XY plane, you can see that in two top quadrants we are seeing the vector function is moving this, and in the bottom two quadrants we are going to have in the XY plane flowing this way. Okay, here also we can see that about this point it is going to give a rotation. It appears like this only diverges because of different magnitudes, so don't get misled, because about this point it is going to rotate. We are going to see that. So let us say this is my point. This point is over here, and this is on XY plane, and I want to do this. Okay, in XY plane I want to put it. So to put this XY plane, I am going to take this as like this. Actually, this point should have been in the XY plane to reflect it properly. So you can understand that I have only drawn here. Okay, in XY plane. So in XY plane, when I take, I will have the vector function r. So that is the radial function to the point from the origin, and about this point r is there. So I'm going to write this vector function r. So this is my x, this is my y. So this the position vector to this point is going to be x I hat plus y j hat to this point. Now, when I want to get the vector function, because I want to not take with del cross r, rather I want to take with respect to the fluid flow. So I need to know this vector function at this point, that is this fluid flow direction. So to know this vector function, you can see that at that point the fluid flow will be in the tangential direction, and the tangential direction is the normal to this radial function. It is normal to this radial function as shown here. It's a tangential function. Okay, so this tangential function normal can be represented as how do I get this? So if two vectors are normal in two dimension, all I need to do is, if I can prove that the resultant this vector v dot r, vector r should be equal to 0, because this dot product is commutative, I can also as well write it as vector r dotted with vector v should be 0. So for that to happen, all you need to do is interchange the spatial coordinate. Okay, so let us say, for example, I have a vector function as 3 I hat plus 4 j hat. I want to find a normal vector to this, which means perpendicular to this vector 3 I hat plus 4 j hat. All I need to do is, my y coordinate is 4. So what I will do is, I will interchange it, and also the one of the signs I will have to interchange. Then I will get like minus 4 I hat plus, depending on the direction. In this case, I will have to write it like this: minus 4 I hat plus 3j hat. So I took the example of 3i plus 4j, but it can be in general x I hat plus yj hat. Okay, so that is about it. So if I do that, what I will get dot product, I will get minus xy plus minus xy plus yj yx. So that will become 0. Okay, so these two vectors are perpendicular. Therefore, I have identified the vector function associated with this fluid flow. Now, when I take the cross product, I am going to write this for this vector function del cross v as, so only my x component is minus y, y component is x. There is no z component, so z component is 0, y component is x component is minus y. And when I take the cross operation, I will get as 2k hat, which is what I said. With the right hand screw system itself, we can see that there is a direction associated. You go any point, I am going to always have very uniform magnitude, which is 2, but that, and the curl in this case, it becomes a very uniform vector function, because 2 is a number, and I have used very generalized coordinates for x and y, and I'm always going to get 2k hat at different points. Okay, so I can have the function, the curl with respect to this point origin is going to have 2k hat, because I have used a position vector with respect to this origin. Now curl of typical functions, another example. I told you that it appears that this function is only diverging because of, and the vector function, it looks like in the xy plane, it looks like, but you have to look at about the origin. These directions in the top two quadrants are in one direction, in the bottom two quadrants are in the other direction. Therefore, it is going to rotate about this point. So to understand that, there is a function. I can write this function as v vector v for this in xy plane as xj hat about this point. Okay, so I consider a positive quadrant point and then take that. I will have xj hat where x is the spatial coordinate in okay, and whereas j hat represents that the fluid flow is along y direction at that point. Okay, positive y direction. Given this, if I take del cross V, I will get k hat, which means you can see that from this figure itself that the curl operation of this vector function is going to be along this direction, z hat. Okay, so that is what it is, and that's about the curl. So whenever curl vanishes for a given vector function, okay, for example, this function, let us talk about what is the curl of a radial function that we already studied. So this is the radial function. The curl here vanishes. So we can see that there is a divergence associated with this radial function, but the curl is 0. Okay, so the Helmholtz theorem will give the interrelationship between these vector functions with the dot product operation with the del operator and cross product. We'll reserve that on that day. But for now, I want you to tell for a given vector function, if the curl is 0, which means del cross V is 0, or in other words, it is a curl-less vector function. Curl is not there. Curl-less. Okay. Or we say, in other words, irrotational. There is no rotation associated with that function. So such a vector function is known as curl-less, which means CURL hyphen LESS, curl-less. Okay, so curl-less or irrotational vector function, such vector functions are. So for that, the curl must vanish, which means given vector function, if I want to prove that there is no curl associated, then you will have such a vector function is known as irrotational vector function. Okay, so given vector function, I want to prove that it is irrotational. All I need to do is I take the cross product and first prove that there is no this one. There is no curl. Okay, that's all I need to prove. Okay, so the radial function which exhibits divergence does not exhibit a curl, which is expected. Okay, because it is spreading radially out, there is no curl associated with the point. Therefore, we took this example. You can check with other functions that we discussed in the divergence and check that. Likewise, you can take the functions where the curl is associated and there is no spreading about the origin, the point of reference. Then you can see also that there is no divergence associated. Okay, so the final point that I want to tell in this class is that whenever we are talking about del operator, okay, the greatness of Maxwell's work can be understood from the fact that at the time of Maxwell life, he did not have the advantage of using this del operator. Rather, if you look at all his theoretical work on trying to unify the electrostatic field and magnetostatic field, okay, all he found was he had to use the complicated, rigorous mathematics to get to Maxwell's equation. Today, Maxwell's equations, if one asks, people immediately say, what is for the electric field? They say, what is the del dot E, divergence of the electric field? What is the cross product of the electric field? What is the dot product of the magnetic field? What is the cross product of the magnetic field? These four, the divergence and the curl, of both electric field and magnetic field form part and or sum and substance of the Maxwell's equation. But when Maxwell did the work, he did not have the advantage of using the del operator. He did all using the first principles of detailed calculus and got these equations and very extensive mathematics. Okay, so and Maxwell, as you know, lived only for around 46 years or something, 1831 to 1877, if I remember correctly, and his work is phenomenal. Okay, it will echo not only in our lifetime, it will echo for as long as the universe lives. With that, I end this class and thank you so much.